Close your eyes, dear listener, and let the sands of time drift softly around you. Imagine the golden desert at dusk, where the whispers of the wind curl like secrets among the dunes. Tonight, I will take you to an age before memory, around 3100 BCE, when Egypt was first gathering itself into a kingdom, when the Nile's waters shimmered silver in the moonlight, and giant men walked the earth. It was said that, in those early centuries, before the time of pharaohs carved in stone, they built temples and raised pyramids with hands as vast as mountains. In the hush of ancient Egypt, before the dynasties, before the names of kings were carved in hieroglyphs upon stone, the land was young. The Nile still carved its paths fresh each season, swelling with floods that blessed the soil with life. Men were few in number then, scattered in huts of mud brick and red, their lives simple, to fish, to sow barley, to reap. But in those days, there came beings from far across the earth, beings so vast that the ground shook beneath their steps. They were the giants. Legends whispered that they were children of the gods, half flesh, half divine. Others said they had risen from the deep earth, born of rock and clay, awakened by the voice of Ra himself. Whatever their origin, they towered above men, their shoulders as high as palm trees, their eyes glowing like the embers of a hearth in darkness. When they arrived, the people of Egypt were afraid. They trembled in their small huts, thinking the giants had come to devour them, or to trample their villages into dust. But the giants did not destroy. Instead, they bowed their massive heads low, their long hair catching the desert wind like flowing rivers. And they spoke. Their voices were deep, like the rumble of thunder rolling across the desert hills. "We have come to build," they said, "to shape a kingdom that shall last for eternity." The people did not understand. Build, what could these great ones mean? But as days passed, it became clear, with hands large enough to lift stones heavier than 50 men could carry. The giants began to quarry blocks from the cliffs that lined the Nile. They placed the stones in great squares, stacking them high, creating platforms that stretched toward the heavens. At first, the people watched in awe. The giants lifted blocks as if they were pebbles, pressing them into place with care and precision. They carved pillars from a single slab of stone, their fingers etching marks that men would later call sacred symbols. The first temples were born not from human effort, but from the hands of these colossi. Soon, courage grew in the hearts of the Egyptians. They approached the giants, offering them bread, figs, honey, and beer brewed from barley. The giants accepted, eating delicately, though each bite consumed an entire basket's worth. They laughed, their laughter shaking the ground, but warming the hearts of the people. Trust was forged. Among them was a giant named Caperon. His hair was dark like obsidian, his eyes bright as emeralds. He spoke often with the priests, teaching them how to measure the stars, how to align stones with the rising sun, how to mark the solstices with shadow and light. The heavens, Caperon said, are a map. If you learn its secrets, your kingdom shall be eternal. Another giant, Nehura, was gentle. She was said to have woven reeds into mats so vast they could shade entire markets. She cared for the children, cradling them in her palms, her humming a sound like 1,000 bees buzzing in harmony. The children loved her, and the people began to see the giants not as monsters, but as protectors. But not all was peace. As the giants labored, word spread across the deserts and hills. Tribes from afar grew jealous. "The Egyptians have gods who build for them," they whispered. "How can we, mere men, stand against a people with such allies?" Raids came, men with spears, their faces painted for war, their eyes burning with envy. One night, under a sky heavy with stars, raiders crossed the Nile in silence. They crept into the fields, slaying farmers and torching huts. The cries of villagers woke the giants, and with furious roars they rose. Their massive strides carried them into battle. Caperon seized a tree, uprooted it, and swung it like a club. Nahura raised her arms, her voice crying out, and the earth itself seemed to tremble at her call. The raiders fled, broken, never daring to return. After that night, the people no longer feared the giants. They called them the Great Ones, children of the sky, and they bowed in gratitude. Years passed, and the giants built more. They raised obelisks that pierced the sky like frozen sunbeams. They carved faces of lions and falcons into stone, declaring the power of gods. They began to teach the Egyptians the secrets of construction, how to cut stone, how to bind mud into brick, how to lash logs into rafts strong enough to bear stone across the river. The partnership was sealed, giants and men, hand in hand, shaping a kingdom that would endure long after the giants themselves had faded into legend. And so the first chapter closes with fields still swaying by the Nile, temples rising toward the sky, and the giants standing guard over a people who, though small, had begun to dream of eternity. Settle in, dear listener. Close your eyes, if you wish. Imagine the golden sands stretching before you, the Nile glimmering like a silver ribbon under the sun. The voices of the past whisper still, of giants and men, building together a vision that would one day be called Egypt. Tonight, I shall tell you how they raised the pyramids of power, monuments born of hands, both mortal and divine. The years after the arrival of the giants were unlike any in memory. Villages along the Nile grew into towns. Farmers, once content with simple harvests of barley and flax, began to dream of cities with walls, of temples taller than the date palms, of monuments that would outlive generations. And the giants listened. It was Caperon, the wise giant, who first spoke of the pyramids. One evening, he knelt beside the priests at the banks of the river. The sky above was deep indigo, stars shimmering like droplets scattered from the gods' hands. With a finger as broad as a man's arm, Caperon traced a triangle into the wet sand. "This," he said, his voice a soft rumble, "is the shape of eternity." The priests looked on in awe. "A mountain," one murmured. "Yes," Caperon replied. "A mountain built by man and giant, pointing to the sky, aligned with the stars. It shall be a place of rest for your kings, and a ladder for their souls to rise among the gods." The priests bowed, for they understood that this was no mere shape, it was a revelation. And so the idea of the pyramid was born. The building began with stone. The cliffs of Giza, sun-scorched and silent, trembled under the chisels of men. But the chisels were guided by the giants, who showed them how to split stone with fire and water. Large fires were lit against the rock, heating it until it cracked. Then water was poured, and the stone split cleanly, ready to be hewn into blocks. The giants lifted the largest stones, carrying them upon their backs as if they were bundles of straw. Men, small but swift, dragged smaller stones on sledges greased with water and oil. Together, they moved thousands of blocks to the plateau where the first pyramid would rise. Day after day, the sound of labor filled the air, the rasp of copper tools on stone, the chanting of men as they pulled ropes, the deep rumbling laughter of the giants as they worked. The desert that had once been silent was alive with creation. The people marveled at the giant's strength. Nehura, the gentle giantess, was said to carry 4 blocks at once, each heavier than an ox cart. Another giant, Hatharan, carved the outer stones with fingers so precise that the blocks fit so tightly together, not even a knife's blade could slip between them. But it was not brute force alone that raised the pyramids. It was vision. Caparon taught the priests to use the stars as guides. Each corner of the pyramid was aligned with the cardinal points: north, south, east, and west. "Your kings must rest in harmony with the heavens," he said, "for their souls shall journey beyond the world of flesh." The work became more than construction. It became ritual. Every stone laid was a prayer, every block a hymn. The people sang as they labored, their voices echoing across the sands, weaving songs of devotion to Ra, to Osiris, to Isis. The giants sang too, their deep tones harmonizing with human voices, creating a sound so powerful that travelers miles away would stop and listen, believing they heard the earth itself singing. Yet, as the pyramids rose higher, so too did envy. Neighboring tribes gazed at the immense structure with fear. "If Egypt completes this mountain of stone," they said, "their power will reach the gods themselves." Raids returned, fiercer than before. Armies came from across the desert, bearing chariots and spears. They sought to topple the half-built pyramid, to burn its foundations, to scatter Egypt's dreams into dust. But the giants stood as guardians. Hatharan wielded a block of stone like a shield, deflecting arrows that fell in showers like rain. Nehura strode across the battlefield, scattering enemies with the sweep of her arms. And Caparon, standing at the pyramid's base, lifted his voice in a chant so deep that the air seemed to vibrate. The enemy faltered, their courage dissolving as the sound pressed against their hearts. Egypt prevailed, and the pyramid stood unharmed. Years passed, and the pyramid grew. Its sides gleamed in the sun, polished smooth by countless hands. At its peak, a capstone of gold was set, blazing with the light of Ra himself. When dawn broke, the pyramid caught the first rays of the sun, casting them across the desert like rivers of fire. At dusk, it reflected the last light, glowing until the stars themselves took watch. It was not merely a tomb, it was a beacon, a promise that Egypt would endure. The people grew proud. They spoke of their kingdom not as fragile huts by the river, but as a land eternal. They looked at the giants with reverence. Children played at their feet, farmers offered them bread and wine, priests carved their likenesses into temple walls. But the giants knew a truth, the people did not. Their time was short. One evening, as the pyramid neared completion, Nehura sat beside the Nile, her vast reflection rippling in the waters. She spoke softly to a child who had wandered near, her voice like a lullaby. "One day, little one, the giants will be gone, but you will remain, and your people will know how to build, how to dream, how to endure. We came to show you the path, but the walking is yours." The child did not understand, but he laughed and offered her a lotus flower, tiny in her great hand. She smiled, her emerald eyes glistening. At last, the pyramid was finished. Thousands gathered at its base, torches blazing, drums beating in rhythm with hearts full of awe. The giants stood among them, silent, their task complete. The high priest raised his arms to the sky. "Behold, the ladder of kings. May the souls of our rulers ascend to the heavens." And in that moment, it seemed as if the stars themselves bent closer, watching. The giants gazed upon their work with solemn pride. The first pyramid of Egypt, born of their strength and men's devotion, stood unshakable, shimmering against the eternal desert sky. And though whispers of their departure had already begun, the people knew one truth: Egypt would never again be the same. Settle once more, dear listener. Let the desert winds brush against your skin in imagination, warm and whispering, carrying echoes from a time long gone. Tonight, I shall tell you of the end of the giants' age in Egypt, how they, who raised mountains of stone, walked away into legend, leaving only whispers, shadows, and monuments eternal. The pyramid stood gleaming under the sun, its golden capstone blazing like a beacon of the gods. Men and women gathered to worship, priests raised incense that curled into the blue sky, and children played at the pyramid's base, laughing as though the stone mountain had always been there. The people of Egypt spoke of strength, of eternity, of their kingdom rising higher than the stars. Yet beneath the songs of triumph lay the silence of the giants. They had labored side by side with men, had carried stones heavier than houses, had sung in voices that made the air tremble. Now, their laughter was quieter, their footsteps slower. It was as though, with the completion of the pyramid, their purpose had dimmed, their fire grown faint. Caparon, the wisest among them, gathered the others at twilight. The sky was painted in crimson and gold, the Nile glowing as if the river itself held fire. He looked to Nehura, to Hatharan, and to the few remaining giants who had come with them across the sea. His voice was low, mournful, yet resolute. "Our work here is done," he said. "The people of Egypt have learned what they needed. They have strength in their arms, vision in their hearts, and order in their lives. The pyramid stands as proof. Now they must walk their path without us." The giants bowed their heads. They had always known their time was temporary, yet knowing and accepting were not the same. Whispers of their departure began to spread among the people. Some said the gods had summoned them back to the heavens. Others believed the giants would travel further into the world, teaching other lands as they had taught Egypt. And there were those who feared that if the giants left, the kingdom would crumble. One night, a child approached Nehura, the gentle giantess. He clung to her foot, his small hands pressing against the folds of her robe. "Don't go," he begged. "Who will carry the stones? Who will keep us safe?" Nehura knelt, her emerald eyes soft with sorrow. She lifted the child into her palm, holding him as tenderly as a mother holds her infant. "You are strong enough," she whispered. "Your people are strong enough. We came to light the fire, little one. Now you must tend it." She set him down gently, a single tear falling from her eye, shining in the moonlight like liquid silver. Not all Egyptians welcomed the thought of the giants' departure. The priests, who had seen their wisdom, begged them to stay. "Teach us more," they pleaded. "Teach us the secrets of the stars, the mysteries of stone, the songs of the earth." The warriors demanded, "Fight with us once more. With you, we are invincible. Without you, we are but men." And the rulers whispered in fear, "If they leave, our enemies will see us as weak." But Caparon shook his head. "If you cannot stand without us, then we have failed. You must find your own strength. The gods did not send us to rule you, but to guide you. That task is finished." The words fell like stone into water, rippling, heavy, undeniable. Their final days in Egypt were filled with ritual. At dawn, they walked among the farmers, showing them once more how to read the floods of the Nile, how to sow and reap in harmony with the river. At midday, they taught the masons to shape stone without their help, guiding their hands, showing them the art of balance and alignment. At dusk, they sat with the priests, speaking of the stars, their patterns, and the hidden paths across the heavens. The day of departure came without warning. The giants rose at dawn and walked silently to the edge of the desert, where the sands met the horizon in an endless golden sea. The people followed, a great procession stretching from the Nile to the cliffs, their footsteps raising dust that shimmered in the morning light. Their Caparon turned to face them one last time. "You will build more pyramids," he said, his voice carrying like thunder softened by distance. "You will raise temples, carve statues, write words into stone. Your kingdom will endure for thousands of years, and though we shall be gone, our spirit will live in your hands, your hearts, and the monuments you leave behind." The crowd wept, their voices rising like waves against the shore. But they were not forgotten. The pyramids stood as proof of their touch, their knowledge, their strength. The songs of laborers, passed down through generations, still carried echoes of giant voices. The carvings in temples showed figures taller than men, shaping stone, guiding kings, lifting the heavens themselves. Some swore they saw them still, wandering the desert at dusk. Colossal figures blurred by the heat, walking endlessly toward the horizon. Others believed they had become stars, shining in Orion's belt, watching over Egypt for all eternity. And so the giants passed into legend. Egypt endured. Kings rose and fell, dynasties ruled and crumbled. But the pyramids remained, eternal mountains of stone, their shadows stretching across the sands like memories that would never fade. And now, dear listener, as you drift in this story's closing, imagine yourself standing before the Great Pyramid at dusk. The sun dips low, casting the stones in shades of amber and gold. You hear the faint hum of voices, long gone, the rhythm of chants that once shook the earth. Were they men? Or were they giants, flesh and blood, who walked with us for a time and left us with wonders? The desert does not answer. It holds its secrets in silence, just as it has always done. But perhaps, if you listen closely, in the hush of night, in the whisper of the wind across the sands, you may yet hear the footsteps of giants.